my friends, I am Rob the Dungeon Tutor, also Omnisci on YouTube, and today I am answering a question for RPGaDay, day 12, which is the 12th of August. And the question is, why did you start RPGing, or playing role-playing games? Which is a fair question, I'd say, because if you've never played role-playing games, it can be hard to kind of imagine it. And I can't help but believe that if you've actually played a role-playing game, this is a question that barely needs to be asked. But I am constantly reminded that not everybody has an equivalent experience when they play role-playing games, and some people get scared away just from that first game, so I think it's fair to ask. So why did I start? Well, number one, I started because I'm a huge fantasy fan. Does this mean that I've watched every fantasy movie or even enjoy watching fantasy movies at this stage of my life? No, not really. I love the concept. I love the imaginary world where magic is possible, where you can change the world with your actions, and bravery and cleverness and power are there to use to save the world or save a village or do something. This world that we're in is just so grim and by the book, and there's no secrets, there's no magic. I'm a skeptic. I've yet to be proven wrong that I don't believe that there are ghosts or extraterrestrials on Earth, or that's how I am. I've never been proven wrong. So it's sad because I would love a little magic in the world. I would love a chance to break the rules as we know it, in terms of doing things outside of the pale, and I would be one of the first people to go to the Magic Academy. I would love it. That'd be great. That'd be wonderful. But Harry Potter is a fiction, and there really isn't magic in this world. We've peeled back the mystery, and there's still more to peel back. But we've done a pretty good job of demystifying the world as we've been exploring it. So, being able to, I've never had a problem with imagination. I've had almost too much imagination for as long as I can remember. Even when I was a teenager, when kids are being stamped out as, now's the time to start thinking about the future and a career or cars or members of the opposite sex, and focusing and having your attention diverted into all these things, I still was very much into fantasy and expanding my imagination. I tried writing back in the day, and I actually wrote a fairly lengthy game book at one point. Never got published. Now it's long gone, but this is back in the day when everything was done on, spiral notebooks and stuff. Yeah. And also, I love the trappings of fantasy. I've always been an enthusiast of swords and armor and props. I'm getting close to 50. I've got swords over there. I've got my chainmail coif over there. I've got all these trappings that I'll never have a practical use for, but I love fantasy in general. And other ways that you turn your imagination. I love the idea of cyberpunk and science fiction and science fantasy. And you can read about it, sure. You can watch a movie and be entertained. You can read a book and be entertained. But ultimately, you're being told a story. You're being told somebody else's idea for that world, that experience. Not all of them are equal. And quite honestly, I have an imagination that cries out to push beyond the boundaries of what I'm just seeing on the page or on the screen. What's over there? I would love to know. I would love to be in that spot so that I could look beyond that and maybe make different choices. But you can't do that in a book, and you can't do that in a movie. And in a video game where you think you can do things like that, you find out all too quickly that there are boundaries. There are invisible walls, there are gates, there's a door barely hanging off its hinges, but if you don't have the right key, you can't get in, even though your huge barbarian should just be able to go yoink, go through. It's not how the rules of that game work. Well, role-playing games are unique. They let you completely push back those boundaries, and if you've got a great game master, you can feel like you're in the world and that you're doing things and they matter in that world. It's hard to feel in everyday life that what you do matters. You go to work and maybe your job is engaging, and maybe it's something you love to do if you are so blessed. You go for a reason to sustain yourself and possibly those who are dependent upon you, and you do that because you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're living out your life the way that it's lived in this day and age. This is for the vast majority of people. I'm not saying this experience is the same for everyone, but you go to work so that you can pay for everything. Possibly keeping an eye to always making more money so that you can afford a little nicer things. Trying to stay away from debt and things, which is always, on some people's shoulders. So that's our reality. It's grim and gray, and it is what it is. For some blessed people, the one percenters, they can do what they want, and life is great. Although I think you'd find if you dug into most of those lives, they're not as great as they would seem. But certainly some of the burdens and worries that we have, they don't. But again, what are your odds of rolling up a character who's rich? It's less than 1%. It's tricky. Yes, those of you out there are screaming, but you can work for it and you can get that. Sometimes things work out that way. Not always. It's not a fair game, and sometimes things are against you. Whether it be your health, whether it be the people around you, you never know. So, at least in a fantasy world, in a role-playing game, you can win. You can do what the situation presents itself and save people, make people's lives better, or worse. That's the other thing. You can play these games backwards, too. So if you're having a moment where you just feel like getting a little bit of just going out and being a bad guy for a change, you can do that. Nobody gets hurt. It's great. It's not the way I prefer to play most of the time, but a good anti-hero can be fun sometimes. And as long as you can imagine and immerse yourself in it, you can leave this world behind for a little bit. You can enjoy watching the numbers climb and watching your character get more powerful, which you can't do here. What are the achievements that I can do? I could lose some weight, sure. That's numbers that are going down, actually, and that's good. Actually, we're kind of working towards that right now, as a matter of fact. If you are the kind who likes to work out, the amount of weight that you can pump goes up as you forge your body and make yourself stronger, and that's good. Is it changing the world around you? No. Is it helping you to live your best life? Sure, but you can get hit by a truck as soon as you get out of the gym, and that's tragic if you put in all that work. And so there's no the universe doesn't lovingly give you hit points that you can survive a tragedy like that. We all take our chances, and it can all be taken away like that. But in fantasy, you don't need to sweat those details. Your character isn't just going to drop off of a heart attack in the middle of an adventure most of the time. This story kind of presupposes that your character is going to be viable enough to survive the challenges and risks in front of them. And I think that's pretty cool. Ultimately, if I had my choice of the reasons that I play, and they are many and myriad, and we've covered most of them, the one that I would pick the most strongly, though, to put before you is that role-playing made me better. In many ways. When I was in high school, I hated myself. I was introverted. I was the fat kid, and I was introverted, and I had a huge opinion of myself because I was smart. was real smart for a kid. And, you know, I'm not stupid now, although I've blended more towards trivia rather than practical knowledge, which that hasn't done me a whole lot of good. But as far as what role-playing games have done, it brought me out of my shell. It introduced me to some fine people. And I think that being in all those different shoes really did help to show me a lot about perspective. And seeing through other people's experiences and seeing how other people's outlooks are going to be very much different from my own. And even though I can't say I understand everybody, I think it's made me more empathic. And I know that I've gotten some of my best friends out of it. And right now I'm in a community where I can find all sorts of people who share my interests, who share my hobbies, and I can even entertain some of them. Maybe they can play my game, which, by the way, my game Shadows of Genzakon just came out from GUI Cube. So it's my second adventure that I've published, sort of. I contributed to it. I'm not going to say I wrote that anymore. My friend Alphinius did a lot of work for it, but I helped a little bit here and there. At least my name is going to be in it, so that's good. But that, I think, is what role-playing games they've given me over the years. And yeah, I'm a better person for it. No question about it. That's why I firmly believe that almost everybody should try role-playing games. They aren't for everybody. I understand that. But everybody, I think, should try, should have an equal chance at it. And I think if more people did, I think the world would be a little bit better. So, that's my thoughts. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I am Rob the Dungeon Tutor, or Omnisci on YouTube. And if you have any questions or anything about any of this that I've talked about, which is, again, very biographical, you know, it's just a little piece of me I'm sharing with you. But if you've been in role-playing game scenarios and people around you have been playing, maybe you can understand what I said all too well from personal experience, and I hope so. But for those of you who may bump into this video someday and never played a role-playing game or have very limited experience, or maybe you had bad experiences, rest assured, people who really love those games love them for a reason. It's not just because it's something to do on a Saturday night. It's because it is a peerless form of immersive and interactive entertainment that is honestly, one of the cheapest ways that you can entertain a group of people, you know, for a decent amount of time. So that is my answer. So until next time, my friends, I am Rob the Dungeon Tutor, or Omnisci again. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, farewell.